Let's try to start it up again. Let's try this again. Try.
If you don't know how to take that kindness, what do you do? You know what I mean? I know I'm definitely in a state of arrested development still to this day, and I've been home
Top of the morning. Top of the morning. We're gonna try this thing again, man. That's the sweet thing about it, man. We can start from the top again. You know, we can start from the top again. Yep, yep. So we're gonna go. We're gonna hit that TikTok. Go live on TikTok. Go live on a couple of platforms. We doing it bougie right now. So yeah, we gotta start that over again. But no, like I was saying, top of the morning, everybody. Top of the morning. One, if y'all can hear me, let me get a mic check. Anybody can hear me on there? Let me get a mic check. Mic check. Um. So yeah, like I was saying, is when I was in Sussex, and the reason I'm bringing this up today is it's a segue into what I got going on this weekend. When I was on Sussex, and it was crazy because when I was there, it was like a life changing event took place. You know what I mean? I was on um, I was on Sussex One and Sussex Two, but when I was on Sussex One, I had a situation where I got into a beef with a guy. I ain't gonna say it was a beef because we didn't go back and forth. We just got it on. We went straight to the fight. You know. Um, so dude named Skeet, he was from Norfolk, and we had a little issue one time on the basketball court, but it wasn't nothing that was serious enough that we were like gonna go at each other, right? It was just something where, you know, we established we didn't like each other that day. You know what I'm saying? We pretty much established, yeah, we don't like each other that day. Now that didn't mean okay, we don't like each other, it's gonna go down. It didn't mean anything like that. It was just, you know, we didn't we wasn't gonna we wasn't gonna be breaking bread together, you know. But and like I said, I'm gonna segue into what I got going on this weekend is why I'm talking about this today. But so we get into a little issue, little thing. It don't go nowhere. But then one day when I was in Sussex, it was the day to clean the cells. And back then, what they did when you clean your cells, they don't go out for rec. So there's no recreation because they're gonna clean the cells, and we're gonna sit there, and you know they're gonna bring the mop buckets around, and you know the cleaning cleaning supplies and stuff like that for the pod. So it's crazy because the pod I was in at that time. What's going on, Ashley? Can y'all hear me? Ashley, can you hear me? Let me know if you can hear me. You still can't hear me. They still say they can't hear me. What is going on here today? That is annoying. Y'all slide over to my YouTube, man. Y'all slide over to my YouTube because I'm having technical difficulties on TikTok, and I apologize for that. But yeah, y'all get time. Slide over to my YouTube on Second Lap Media, second underscore lap underscore media. Because I don't know why y'all can't hear me this morning. But as you know, the show must go on. But so yeah, with that was having been said, what I was talking about was you know, they had a thing where she says she can't hear me, so I'm gonna shut this one down here. Y'all slide over, y'all on TikTok. Y'all go ahead and slide over to my YouTube. So yeah, what I was saying, I apologize for that. Was the situation where we had an issue back and forth, and so then I got a visit that weekend. This is like the beginning of the year. No, it was yeah, it was the beginning of the year because I know it was cold because we wasn't going out and play too much basketball, but we went out anyway. It was cold, and it was the day to clean the cells. and everything like that. And I knew I was getting a visit, so I wasn't really tripping. You know what I'm saying? So everybody wanted to go out for rec, but I knew I wasn't getting a visit, so I kind of wanted to just clean my cell. You know what I mean? And I'm not gonna say I was overly clean, but I wanted to clean myself. So what had happened was me and the guy had words. Me and him had words about it, because he wanted to go out wreck, and he was one of those dudes that's loud and boisterous, usually wrong, and loud and wrong. Put that combination together, so go figure. But so what had happened was, he said he wanted to go out and all that type of stuff. They said if anybody want to go out, if everybody want to go out, you got to agree on it. I just happened to be me and a couple of brothers. When I say brothers, I say Muslim brothers. We said nah, we wanted to go and clean ourselves, because that's what we do. So they stopped the wreck. They bring the cleaning supplies around. Now we were still gonna go out for wreck anyway. We were still gonna go out for wreck anyway, but this particular time, guys were a little upset about that. So a guy named Ski, he get to screaming and hollering. He said, "Yo, y'all Muslims this, y'all Muslims that. When I get out, I'm gonna do this and do that." Now, at the time, on Sussex, where I was at, Nottoway was there. Nottoway is one of the major prisons. Nottoway was there, and you had the last batch of DC inmates that was there as well, right? So we were all like stuck in this environment. You know what I'm saying? And it was a lot of tension in the air. A lot of tension in the air. And anyway, long story short, we didn't go out for rec. They bring the cleaning supplies. We clean ourselves, and then the dude Ski is screaming from the other side of the pod about he gonna get at me. He just pinpointed me. Which is cool because I wasn't tripping off of it. At that time, I'm about same height. You know what I'm saying? 6'3" and a half, 6'4". You know what I mean? I was probably like maybe 220. You know what I'm saying? 225. I had some size on me. You know what I mean? But I was more ripped than anything. I didn't have the bulk like I got now. Like I'm a chunky dude now. But the thing about it was, I didn't really get into a lot of stuff because it was just known, okay, I'm more of a peacemaker at the time. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, he called me out, and you got a dude that's screaming from one side of the pod, right? When I say pod, it's like a big, think of the Borg. You ever seen the Star Trek, the Borg? Take like a Borg cube, you know what I'm saying? Take a Borg cube and put a whole bunch of people inside of it. And there's cells on the outside, and the inside is a dorm area. I mean, inside is like the living area where you got the TV, microwaves, and all that type of stuff. So, at the time where I was there, we didn't have microwaves. Something that happened when I got there, we didn't have microwaves. But so all this stuff is going on. Me and him he gets to arguing with me, really, because I'm not saying much or nothing back and forth. But then I told him, I said, look, I mean, it's whatever you want to do, man. Now when you say something like that, it's like an open statement. It's like, I'm down for whatever. You know what I mean? It's like whatever you want to do is like saying I'm down for whatever. If you want to beef, if you want to good morning, how you doing? All right. If you want to beef, if you want to get at it like that, that's basically what that's saying when you say to somebody it's whatever you want to do. You know what I mean? But I was kind of telling him I'm not going to go back and forth with you arguing. So the dude was like, all right, you know what I mean? He said it was on. So I said I wasn't really tripping. So then the situation goes down, man. He comes over. He comes over to the cell. You know what I'm saying? Because I tell my cellie, I was like, look, man, we're going to go ahead and get this out the way. You go ahead and do what you got to do. Dude say they don't come to the cell, so we're going to do it. So he comes over across the tier. Now there's like four Muslim brothers on my side of the tier, but the rest of them are on the other side of the tier. So when it's like that, you really, you know what I'm saying? It's pretty much I'm outnumbered if they try and do some dirty stuff, because dudes from Norfolk will do you dirty. You know what I mean? If Norfolk boys, they'll kind of get together and they'll shoot the bank to you. What I mean by shoot the bank is they'll jump you. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times in those type of situations, what had happened was, I was trying to figure not a way out of it because I really didn't care. Like I said, I was probably gonna get a visit that weekend, but there was no backing down. Not when you hollering it back and forth across the tiers like that. There's really no backing down. You know what I mean? And like I said, he was really doing more than hollering. I threw it out there. I said, it's whatever you want to do. So when you say that, it's kind of like if you want to, you telling him if you want to fight, we can do it. If you want to stab, if you want to do, if you whatever you want to do. So anyway, like I said, the doors pop. I tell my celly, I said, look, man, it's probably gonna go down. You know what I'm saying? Because dude, I really didn't like this guy anyway. So if it goes down, just give me time. You know, give me some cell time. Don't let him mess up my property or nothing like that. Because it's known back then if you get into a fight with somebody and win or lose, you got to make an example. So my thing was, if I get into a fight with somebody, if I'm in the cell with them, because I don't usually bring people in my cell. You know what I'm saying? If I get in a fight with somebody, we in their cell, I'm probably going to, if I whoop you, I'm probably going to break your TV. I'm probably going to mess up your CD player, all your electronics. I'm going to try and do you dirty because I'm not just trying to hurt you physically. I'm trying to hurt you financially anyway because I stood the chance of losing so much. You know what I mean? And like I said, I was getting a visit that weekend. So dude comes in the cell, and when he comes in the cell, it seemed like he was hesitant. You know what I mean? Because the look on his face wasn't what I was perceiving it to be on his way over here. Because I'm thinking the way he's screaming and hollering that it's gonna be on, and he's gonna be on some warrior time when he come over there. But when he came in the cell, right, and my cellie walked out, he walked in the cell. The look on his face was more like it was more like confusion. You know what I'm saying? Like he was almost pressured into that. You know what I'm saying? I didn't see that killer like, oh, I gotta have this dude. I didn't see that. But you're already here now. So he was trying to talk to me, and I don't remember what he was trying to say, anything like that. It was like a mumble now because you got to think he's been hollering back and forth long enough, so it's about an hour. It's about what he's gonna do to me and all that type of stuff. And I'm like, all right, man, it's whatever you want to do. But you know, me, I'm all ready for war because I'm thinking, okay, yeah, he coming over here. We got to get it in. There's no backing down from this, right? So when I see that look on his face, I'm like, oh, he's scared. Either he's scared or he got a knife. You know what I'm saying? And what I meant by that was, you know, if you, it could end right there for either one of us. You know what I'm saying? I had a knife, but I wasn't. My mindset wasn't on. Okay, I'm gonna, you know, do this dude dirty and stab him up and nothing like that. 'Cause if I would have been like that, it'd have been something entirely different. I wouldn't have talked at all. But by him coming into my cell, right, for us to rumble to get it in like that, I was like, all right. But then I heard his homeboy saying, no, man, just give him a one-on-one. Just give him a one-on-one. Because now the brothers down the bottom of the tier are getting rowdy. And they're saying to him, no, man, give him a one-on-one. So that's it's just known, okay, yeah, they're just going to fight it out. So a lot of times that's how it would go. You know what I'm saying? Somebody said they want a good one-on-one, you can do that. You know what I mean? It's not like West Coast where they say we're going to have a fade and you just, you know, automatically just fight so many times. It wasn't like that, not in Virginia. But he came in the cell, no shank, no nothing. So we come in there, boom. Immediately when he walk in the cell, I see his face. I just take off on him, bow, bow, bow. And I'm pretty sharp with my hands. You know what I'm saying? I've always been pretty sharp with my hands. So I come up fighting. You know what I mean? And when it come in the cell, I just take off on him, bow, 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 bow. And I catch him several good times because in my mind, it's punches and bunches. Don't stop. You know what I mean? Like I just got to keep going. So when I'm tagging off on him, dude grabs me. And that's the thing about me, and I'm telling you the story for this reason. When dude grabbed me, like right around, you know, my waist area, he kind of like lift up. Now, when he lift me up, I feel my feet come up off the ground, and automatically I just go in panic mode. You know what I'm saying? When I go in panic mode, I just like grab his head real close, you know what I'm saying? And I kind of like pull him to me, and I feel my feet going up. I feel my feet come up off the ground, and I feel I'm leaning. Now, automatically I'm thinking, oh, this is super bad. Like I'm done. Because in Sussex, all you had in Sussex, everything is steel. Steel and concrete. That's all it is in the cells. And he wasn't trying to keep going with the hands because he didn't have a chance there. But when I lifted up and I feel myself coming down, I'm thinking, okay, he about to dump me. You know what I'm saying? And I got in the cell in Sussex, what you had was like a little metal table, probably about like this big for you to write on, like a metal desk. And on the bottom, you had the metal, like a metal chair. It wasn't big enough for nobody for real for her to sit on, but that's what we would do. So he lift me up, and as I feel myself coming down, I'm thinking he's dumping me. This is it. You know what I mean? Because I hate wrestling. Even to this day, I can't stand wrestling. It's not my thing. I'm always, somebody gonna fight, we're gonna do the hands, it's gonna be real good. So we come down, I hit my shoulder. I feel my shoulder hit on something. I don't know if it's the bench or the table, whatever. And it hurt. I ain't gonna lie, it hurt bad, right? But then I hear something go boom, and then his body just went limp. You know what I mean? Like he lifted me up and we coming down, and I said, "Yo, this is bad." And I hear, I feel the impact on my shoulder, but then I hear something go bing, like real loud, and he just went limp, like he just let me go. And then as we both on the ground, I got his head on my chest. You know what I'm saying? I'm like holding him like this, and he just start. It was crazy. He just like started snoring. You know what I mean? He's like, and I was like, "What the hell?" So I was like, I looked down, right? I looked down, and when I came down on my shoulder, he had caught his head on the bench. So he's leaking immediately. Like I'm like, blood is just like going. Like his whole side of his face is all on my shirt and everything. And this dude is snoring, but in my mind, I'm like, I can't really, process what's going on because I'm looking at him. My shoulder's killing me. And I'm thinking, something crazy that happened. And I've realized, okay, it's not my blood, it's his blood. So I roll him over. And as I roll him over, I stand up. When I stand up, the guys that were outside the cell, like they run in the cell. They're like, "Oh, it's over, it's over, it's over." They thinking, what I'm saying, I'm about to do him dirty, which I normally would have done. What I mean by that, when I say do him dirty, it's like jump up and just start punishing him. But I'm so caught off guard because I'm realizing I just got dumped. You know what I'm saying? Dude lifted me up and slammed me down. So when they run in the cell, the guys run and say, "It's over, it's over, it's over." Now when they say "Ak," they're calling me brother. You know what I mean? And I'll go into that another time. They say, "Yo, Ak, it's over, it's over, it's over." So I like roll him over. His head is like busted. And because what happened was he lifted me up. He hit his head on the bench when he was trying to dump me, knocked himself out. Now, his homeboys lift him up and they like, "Yo, ain't nothing else." They keep talking to me like, "Is anything else coming of this? Like, is there gonna be anything more? Is it over? Is it over?" And I was like, "Yeah." I said, "It's good." I said, "We good." I said, "If he good, I'm good." You know what I'm saying? So they taking him out the door, and there's a couple Muslim brothers at the door too, right? Because it was basically a one-on-one. You got Norfolk and you got the Muslims and all that type of stuff. So they taking him out the cell. When they take him out of the cell, he bleeding. You know what I'm saying? They kind of like, I guess they hid him from the police, whatever, got him back to his cell. And then there was nothing came of it. You know what I'm saying? My cellie comes back in, and his thought was, he said, "Damn, Ak, you did him bad. Ak, I seen you put the hands on him, da da da." You know what I'm saying? I was like, yeah. I said, "What do you expect?" In my mind, I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they saw this guy just dump me or whatever, because it was wartime. It was wartime. But I was just completely caught off guard because when we get to rumbling, he busts his head open and he's knocked out. He's out cold. Now, like I said, when we first started, he came in the cell. I went straight to him. Boom, boom, boom. I went straight to him. But it's just one of those situations where, you know, Allah was on my side that day. You know what I'm saying? Because he could have dumped me, knocked me out, and he would have did me dirty. You know what I'm saying? What I mean by that is he probably would have really punished me. So I say all that to say, after that situation, it was like 2 weeks. 2 weeks go by. He stayed in the cell for like maybe a week. He didn't really come out of the cell because he's got a big gash on his head. You know what I'm saying? They trying to fix him up and stuff like that. And his homeboys are bringing him soups and food and stuff like that. So he's standing in the cell. He's not coming out the cell. So I don't really know what's going on in his head. But then we have like a lot of times state penitentiary is just like the feds when it comes to politics. Like you can't just do certain stuff. So the politics is you got a Muslim brother who just got into a fight with one of the bigger cliques, which is Norfolk. And a lot of times that could be escalated into something real quick. Skeet was an alright dude, so he was just in his feelings that day because of a decision I made. So they talked it all out. Nothing came of it. In fact, after that, me and him got cool. But I say all that to say, right after that, like I told you, dude lifted me up and slammed me down. Even though I put the hands on him real decent, he lifted me up and slammed me down. I was like 220 back then. I started working out that day. And I don't think I stopped working out. That was 2007. I don't think I stopped working out until 2020. 4. Like real shit. Like I worked out every day from 2007 until 2019. I know I worked out every day, hands down. But then when I came home after that in 2019, I still worked out every day, probably for about 2 or 3 years. And then like 224, man, like 2024, like last year, I kind of fell off. I ain't gonna say I kind of fell off. I really fell off. Um, but that started my workout journey, and I say all that to say, like, um, for me, the workout was really about survival and preparing myself for war. You know what I mean? Because wasn't too many fights after that that I lost. Wasn't too many situations after that that I got into seriously. Um, I had my jaw broke. I got hit with a dumbbell, but I'll go into that another time. But I worked out every day, just really, in preparation for the next incident, in preparation for the next war. You know what I'm saying? Because where I was at, a lot of spots I was at, there was no just, okay, we're just gonna fight it out to fight it out. That could potentially end your life. You know what I mean? Guys didn't just, like, I know on the West Coast they do a thing like they shoot fades and stuff like that. And that's to make sure your hands is right and you gotta, you put up or shut up. And I've always respected that culture. That's how it was when I was in juvenile. I've always respected that put up or shut up culture. You know what I mean? We don't do a lot of that back east, but it was just crazy to get in that situation. That's what started me off on my workout journey. You know what I mean? And I got pretty, I got pretty big over the years. You know what I mean? But I say all that to say, this weekend I have Abu Asada is coming up. He's coming up, and we gonna meet out in Vegas. We're gonna meet out in Vegas, and we're gonna do this workshop. I'm gonna have him on the podcast, and then we're doing a workshop. And in that workshop, he's doing a workshop. And what I'm saying, I say all that to say because I admire his drive. You know what I'm saying? He went from working out. I don't know if he worked out prior to his incarceration, but I know during his whole incarceration, he worked out and he came home and he's made a living out of that. But the process is, I mean, not the process, but the thought process is this. A lot of times we have people that work out like that in society, I mean, in prison and come home with it. Their working out in prison is mainly for preparation of war, and it's mentally to keep yourself in a good state of mind because working out is like a religion in prison. Like you got to think you got nothing else to do but read books, work out, and rest. And it's like a lot of the stuff we might do might not be the right way. You know what I mean? But when you're pushing like that, when you're pushing hard to work out like that, it puts yourself in an entirely different realm. You know what I'm saying? Or entirely different mental space, right? And like I said, it's very much a religion. But like I said, I got Abu Asada. Y'all check him out. Man Time Fitness out of Baltimore, But he lives in the Houston area now, and he's bringing his program out to. We're gonna meet out in Vegas, and he's bringing his program out there. But like I said, man, that's how I started working out, and my workout stuff back then was strictly for war. That's what I was worked out for. Preparing myself for the next incident, preparing myself for the next conflict, because I felt like if somebody could lift me up off the ground, then I'm not big enough. I'm not strong enough. If somebody can get the best out of me when they grab me, because I hate people grabbing me, I felt I wasn't big enough. So I worked out all the time. I mean, sometimes 3 times a day. Ramadan, I know I worked out 3 times a day. I would work out before the first meal, right after the first prayer, then like the second prayer, and then right after the time right before we broke our fast. I worked out like 3 times a day for every Ramadan for many years. But like I said, it was a thing where it was either for preparation of war or it was mental. It was always mental. Now, like I said, what he's done, he's come home, he's made a living out of this. You know what I'm saying? Training people, teaching people. I know he's trying to do something with the youth, and I commend him on that. And I definitely want y'all to tap in on the show, man, this weekend. The Visitation Room podcast, and we'll be streaming that live. I'm actually gonna go live with this one, man. It's a little different for me because I had a lot of people say, "Man, you do good on the interviews." I'm like, ugh. But I'm actually gonna do this one live, man, from the Pod Place and in Las Vegas. So yeah, I was just basically saying, how my workout journey went, And I'm not where I used to be. You know what I'm saying? I'm an old man now. I'm unk now. But yeah, what I'm saying? He's got a good program going on, and we're gonna bring that out to Vegas and see what we got going on. But yeah, if there's any questions, like I said, I'll stay in for like the last about 5 more minutes. Sorry about that on TikTok. I'm gonna go back and check out, see what's going on there. Had radio problems, but if there's any questions, I got a couple people in there. Good morning to y'all. If there's any questions or anything, man, y'all let me know, man. Stick around for a little bit because I got to shut it down. It's gonna be work time in a minute. I see you in there, Chrissy. How you doing? I can't tell. That's crazy. I can't tell who the other person is. I don't really see. But yeah, I appreciate y'all tapping in this morning, man. Everybody have a good day. Have a blessed day. Make sure y'all tune in to the Second Lap program, which I got going my nonprofit, my 501c3. What we do is battle recidivism. And I said I'm gonna start popping in here more often, man. Start popping in here more often. Signing off.